Thank you. Good evening, students. Yes, good evening, Naveen. Good evening, Mr. Linga, Ms. Prerna, Mr. Adil, Pooja, Geeta, Kuldeep, Sangeeta Vani. Nice. Good to see all the students here. Yes, lot many are there. No problem. So we were discussing on the registration topic, right? So we will continue our discussion on registration. Registration is a simple topic, but to understand it, it takes time. That's why we have a three course kind of a thing, and we have 3 days to learn on it. Okay. I hope you have gone through whatever we have discussed in the previous session, and if there is anything, you can again ask queries because today we have ample time. We will, at the end of the session, we will also take few MCQs and we will take some problems also, and how do we solve it, we will see it. So mostly I will stick on to the topic of registration so that everything is clear on it. To start off today's session, we'll start with a wonderful quote which was given by a famous person to stay positive, right? It goes like this: failure will never overtake me. Simple. Failure will not overtake me if my determination to succeed is strong enough. Let me repeat. Failure will never overtake me if my determination to success is strong enough. So, yes, students, your determination for success is strong enough. So, the failure will not overtake you. Failure will never overtake you. Yeah. So the number of marks from this may be a little difficult because it may be a part of a composite question wherein a kind of problem is given and registration is one part of it. Or it may be given as a part of a MCQ also, wherein they are telling you to decide what is the aggregate turnover, whether the person is required to take registration or no. So the chances of this coming in the MCQ is very much important, and MCQ is very important. Even 1 mark in that, if you give, right? Question. If you work out properly and see the number of MCQs you get, you can definitely beat your aggregate. You will definitely cross your aggregate if your MCQs are correct and your other problems are correct. So that's the reason nitty-gritties in the topic is to be seen into that small things. Also, we have to be careful because MCQs are very smart. So you have to be smarter than them to offbeat the MCQs and get marks from it. Okay. So small things they'll be given the MCQ which you may miss out. So you have to be very careful in that respect. Okay. So we were discussing on this that once a registration is given, the procedure is followed. Then what is the effective date of registration? So if you apply for the registration within time, then you will be getting the registration from where you have applied. That is from the date when you become liable for registration, that day onwards, the effective date of registration will be there because you have applied on time. Okay. Since we are compliant, we are giving the applying for registration on time. So our registration will get the benefit that we will get it from the date when we were liable. But if we are delaying, if you're not being cautious, okay, the tax gives benefits to one who is cautious. So if you're cautiously applying for the registration within time, we will get the benefit. But we apply late, then there's a disadvantage. We will get the registration date, effective date of registration will be from the date when the registration is granted. Okay. Now, how does the registration look like? So you get a registration certificate. In that, a GST registration number will be mentioned. That is called as GSTIN, which is a unique number. If I have that number, you will not get it. Or if I have that number and I want to apply a additional certificate, want to apply additional registration, then that number also will be different from this. So each identification number, it's called GSTIN or GST identification number, will be a 15-digit number, which will be based on some criteria. First two digit will be the state code, right? Like for Tamil Nadu, it is 33. For Karnataka, it is 27. For each state, a different code number is given. That will be the first two digits of the GST number which you will receive. Next 10 digits is your PAN number. So whatever PAN number you have, that will be the number following the first two digits. So first two digits is the state code, then 10 digits is your PAN number, then the 13th digit is the entity number. In one state, if you have one registration, so first number will be one. If you apply for second registration, it will become two. So that is how this number will be changing. This is the number. Then next number is an alphabet, which is generally picked up by the system and given. And 15th number is a check digit number. So this will be the 15-digit GST number which you will receive. But the important point to note is by seeing the GST number, you can get to know the PAN number also, because after first two states, compulse after first two digits, other 10 digits from the third till the 12th digit will be your PAN number. That will not change. How many ever registrations you take, your PAN is always the same. So from the third digit till the 12th digit, it will always be the PAN number. Okay. Now, what is the relevance of this? It's only for your understanding. It is not an academic question, but we need to really know it. That's the reason I'm giving you this information. Yes, Kanishka, do you have any question? You can unmute yourself. So the GST number is allotted because अगर कोई बात कर ले that you are reading GST. Now this is my GST number. Now you tell me I am from which state. Okay, just a teaser question if it is asked, you should be aware of it. That's the reason this information is provided to you. Now, once you get the GST number, what is the relevance of it? What is the importance of it? You have to display the registration certificate at a prominent location. Once you get your registration, you have to display the registration certificate at a prominent location. मतलब registration certificate आपको मिल गया है, उसका प्रिंट आउट लेके आप आपके ऑफिस में ऐसी जगह पे रखेंगे which is visible to anybody. Then you should use it in all your official documents. What? The GST number. One is certificate आपको print लेके रखना है. Second is you should use the GST number in all your official documents. जैसे आपका invoice हो गया, आपका letterhead हो गया. In all these places you should display it. Then GSTN number जो है you should also display it on the name board. Okay? जो भी आपका PPOB. What is PPOB and APOB? This. Oh, nice, Harsh. So from the techniques, you're able to solve 60 to 70% of the question. Very nice, very nice. That's very encouraging. Thank you so much. Yes. PPOB is, yeah, only one answer. How about others? Very nice, Ashlisha. That's the correct answer. How about others? Yes, Linga. That is also correct. No, Shraddha. Pay more attention. PPOB is wrong. correct, Adil. Yeah, correct, Prerna. Right. So most of you all have given the correct answers. Yeah, Tanush Okama. Yes. So PPOB means principal place of business and APOB means additional place of business. So which is your principal place of business? You have to identify if you have multiple registrations, multiple places with one registration number, then you will have principal place of business and additional place of business. Yes. So, in your principal place of business and in your additional place of business at both the locations, you will have a name board because for identification, you have to put a name board. So, in the name board, also, you have to mention your GST number. That is the mandate of the law. Okay. So, you will first display the registration certificate at a prominent place, then use the GST number in all the official documents and also use the जो भी नेम बोर्ड है उसके ऊपर also you will mention the GST number. Next, we have discussed on CTP and NRTP, but a little more discussion on this कि CTP क्या है और NRTP क्या है. Just one moment. Right. Casual taxable person and non-resident taxable person. Yes. Very nice. So you all know this, that CTP and NRTP is this. Now, what are the provisions for CTP and NRTP that one has to be aware of? What is the definition of CTP? CTP means a person who occasionally undertakes transactions involving supply of goods or services or both in the course or furtherance of business, whether as a principal or as an agent or in any other capacity in a state or union territory where he has no fixed place of business. This is the definition which I had explained you in simple words key wherever you are going to a different state and you don't have a fixed place of business, you that is called as a registration as a CTP, that is casual taxable person. Okay, so that is casual taxable person. However, uh, definition of NRTP is also given. What is who is NRTP? NRTP means a non-resident taxable person. What is the definition of this NRTP? A person who occasionally undertakes the transactions involving supply of goods or services or both, whether as a principal or agent or in any other capacity, but who has no fixed place of business or residence in India. So person, both CTP and NRTP, it starts with a person who occasionally undertakes. So these people are not doing as a fixed business, they're doing it occasionally. So NRTP is also doing the business occasionally. He undertakes the transactions involving supply of goods or services, whether as a principal or agent, again in any capacity. But NRTP has no fixed place of residence or fixed place of business in India. CTP at least has a fixed place of business in India, but he will not have a fixed establishment in a different state. Okay, so for that different state, when he wants to do business, there he will take the benefit of the CTP registration and register that. Okay, so that is the definition of CTP and NRTP. Okay. Now, what are the difference between CTP and NRTP? And also, what are the similarities? A CTP has no fixed place of business in the state or union territory from where he wants to undertake the supply. And NRTP has no fixed place of business or residence in India. Simple, place of business and place of residence नहीं है. For NRTP, CTP के लिए place of business or place of residence दूसरे state में नहीं है. Second, he might be registered in any other state where he undertakes. He might be or he may not be. That is, he's starting a new business and he is doing it in another state. That is also possible. So a CTP may be having, but he may not be having. But anyways, NRTP will never have any registration in any other state because if he has a registration in the state, then he will take registration as a CTP in another state. So non-resident, he is coming generally from outside India and he has no registration in any other state. Third point is CTP needs to register in every state from where he wants to do business. So ऐसा नहीं है कि I am from Karnataka. I have gone for an exhibition in Tamil Nadu. I have taken a CTP registration in Tamil Nadu. Now I want to continue that exhibition in Kerala. I can use that CTP registration of Tamil Nadu in Kerala. No, that is not possible. Because Tamil Nadu state GST authorities are different. Kerala state authorities are different. Each state authorities are different. So that's the reason. And we do not have the concept of centralized registration that we had discussed. So if I have taken a casual taxable registration in Tamil Nadu, I have to cancel that once I finish my business and then take up or parallelly also if I have two exhibitions, I have to take a separate casual taxable registration in Kerala. So whichever state I'm going, there I have to take a casual taxable person registration. One CTP registration cannot be used in multiple states. Similarly, NRTP, he will also have to register in the state from where he seeks to supply. So if he wants that he's coming from outside India, he wants to set up in two states also separately he has to take non-resident taxable person registration. Next, CTP should at least have the PAN. PAN is compulsory for him. For an NRTP, he is a non-resident, so PAN is not compulsory, but a passport is necessary. Next is normal registration process. The application for CTP, we will file through form REG01. For NRTP, the process is he will file a registration through form REG09. Okay, first is REG01, which is for a normal person. That itself will be used by CTP. For NRTP, he will use REG09. Who will do the verification? The verification of the application. That is, registration के लिए जो application submit करता हूँ, who will verify that? This will be verified by the registered person. In case of a NRTP, it will be duly signed or verified through electronic verification code. EVC is electronic verification code by his authorized signatory. So a non-resident should appoint a person in India who is resident in India and he will be calling him as authorized signatory. That person will duly digitally sign it or physically sign it और बेसिकली होता है रजिस्ट्रेशन ईवीसी से तो रेसिडेंट जो पर्सन है उसका ईवीसी लेके सबमिट हो जाएगा CTP can take multiple registrations simultaneously. Yes, that is possible. He can have multiple registrations, no restrictions. Right? These are the differences between CTP and NRTP. Now, what are the common points between two which we have to still remember is EVC is electronic verification code. जो आप OTP मांगते हो, that once you go to the website and click on submit, you get a electronic verification. उसे हम popular terms में OTP बोलते हैं. Now, common points for a CTP or NRTP is both of them cannot opt for tax under composition scheme. कि मैं बाहर जा रहा हूँ एग्जीबिशन में, मुझे आईटीसी नहीं क्लेम करना है एंड आई वांट टू ऑप्ट फॉर कॉम्पोजिशन स्कीम, क्या ऐसे कर सकते हैं? बोथ कैजुअल टैक्सेबल पर्सन और एनआरटीपी को कॉम्पोजिशन लेवी का बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा. दे हैव टू टेक नॉर्मल रजिस्ट्रेशन, फुल आउटपुट पे टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा और फुल आईटीसी लेना पड़ेगा, बट दे कैन नॉट टेक द क्रेडिट बिकॉज दे विल नेवर बी, दे विल ऑलवेज टेक द क्रेडिट, बट उनको क्या कॉम्पोजिशन टैक्स का बेनिफिट नहीं मिलेगा या कैजुअल टैक्सेबल पर्सन नहीं मिलेगा. सॉरी, दे कैन नॉट गो अंडर कॉम्पोजिशन लेवी स्कीम. नेक्स्ट इज देयर इज नो सेंट्रलाइज्ड स्कीम. जैसे हमने बताया कि जो विच एवर स्टेट यू गो देयर यू हैव टेक सेपरेट रजिस्ट्रेशन. थ्रेशोल्ड लिमिट डज नॉट अप्लाई, विच मीन्स जनरली हम बोलते हैं कि अप टू 20 lakhs एंड 40 lakhs फॉर गुड्स आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं लेना है, बट कैजुअल टैक्सेबल पर्सन एनआरटी के वो नहीं लगेगा. That rule will not apply. They have to take registration for 1 rupee of sale. But the exception, as we had discussed, was notified handicraft and craftsman goods जो है उसके लिए that 20 lakhs and 40 lakhs will apply. Which means what? If I am a seller of handicraft goods, okay, and I want to sell it in another state, so फिर my turnover is just 10 lakhs. So should I take registration? They're saying no, you don't have to because your sales turnover is below the limit of 40 lakhs. You do not have to. So notified handicraft and craftsman goods जो है, for that only that limit of 20 lakhs and 40 lakhs will apply. Which means what? If I've gone to another state and I've made a turnover of 50 lakhs, okay, so should I take registration? That's the first question. And secondly, should I take registration as a casual taxable person or a normal tax person? I'll repeat my question. First is that I am a handicraft seller. I'm selling handicraft goods and my turnover is expected to be, our turnover is 50 lakh rupees. Okay. So should I take registration firstly? And if I have to take registration, should I take registration as a casual taxable person or a normal taxable person? If turnover limit exceeds, मैंने तो बता दिया है ना, turnover 50 lakhs है. Now you decide whether it is exceeding or not. No registration is required as it was notified handicraft goods casual taxable person. So no registration is required. Then what is the point on casual taxable person then? Sangeetwani, this is for you. Tanu Vishwakarma, registration required as casual taxable person. Okay. Kuldeep is saying normal to be taken, should be taken as normal. Okay. Adil Khan is saying yes as a CTP. Ashlisha Rao is saying registration needs to be taken as a casual taxable person as he's handicraft seller. Okay, but you can you read this? It's saying that exception for a CTP is notified handicraft and craftsman goods. Registration as CTP, okay. Navneet, okay. Normal taxable person, Ms. Shraddha is saying. Urmila Verma is saying yes, registration under casual taxable person. Goldie is saying registration as a normal taxable person. Okay, so the house is divided. Few are saying that registration is required. One or two said registration itself is not required. Others are saying registration is required as a normal taxable person, and few are saying uh, registration as a casual taxable person. Normal taxable person. Again, Prerna. Wow, some more answers are there. Exception is notified for handicraft and craftsman goods. Okay. Normal taxable person as exception CTC and threshold limit exceeds 20 lakhs. Okay. So the point what is said here, again, I will repeat is for a casual taxable person and normal taxable person, threshold limit does not apply. Okay. Which means what? Even if they have 1,000 rupees worth of sale, they have to take the registration, right? So threshold does not apply to a CTP. But the exception is for a CTP who is dealing in notified handicraft and craftsman goods. It doesn't say GST itself is not payable. If they are dealing with notified handicraft goods, then the threshold benefit will come in. The benefit of threshold will come in, which means in a state of, say, Karnataka, person from outside the state is coming here. Here the limit is 40 lakhs, right? Because it falls under the third category, which is all other states, and the limit is 40 lakhs. So 40 lakhs will come in. But if this person, in our example, this Mr. Handicraft per fellow is having a turnover of 50 lakhs. So he will have to register because he's crossing the limit of 40 lakhs. That is the first answer, that registration is definitely required. But since he's crossing 40 lakhs, can he take normal registration? No. A person who's coming from the outside state to this state and he's not having a fixed establishment, he will always take CTP registration as a casual taxable person only, not as a regular taxable person. Okay. So, but this is his first registration. So normal registration is required? No. Even though it is his first registration, that doesn't mean he should take his normal registration because he is going to another state where he is not registered or he's not having a fixed establishment. The first condition for a CTP itself is he is going to another place. And in my facts also, I've said that this person is going to another state and registering. He can take a normal registration only in the state where he is having a fixed place of business. If he's not having a fixed place of business, then he cannot take a normal registration. So either he has to take a fixed place of business or he has to take a casual taxable person registration. Now, fixed place of registration of business does not mean that he should own a place. Even if he's taking a place on rent, that is also considered as a fixed place of business. But what is not a fixed place of business for which CTP will come in, like a few exhibitions, which are for temporary purpose, like for 2 months purposes. Generally, exhibitions are for 1 week's time. So for such places where he is not having a fixed place of business, their CTP registration will be mandated. There he cannot get a normal registration. Okay. So got clarity on the threshold. The threshold will not apply. So from Big P 1 itself, you have to register. Exception is people dealing in handicraft goods. For them, the threshold will come in. You can use the benefit of the threshold limit. Next point is very important. You have to advance deposit of the estimate tax liability. So when you apply for registration to that respective state's officer, they will ask you what is your estimated turnover, what is the estimated sales you're planning to make here. Just an estimate need not be accurate. What is the estimate sales? On that, what is the GST you have to calculate and pay the based on the sales, you have to make an advance deposit. You have to make a deposit to the officer and to the authority saying that I'm making sale of 5 crore rupees. Okay. On that, whatever is the tax, I will pay the amount upfront. Why? Because casual taxable person registration, the officer cannot catch him because they do not have a fixed establishment. Correct? To Augur, if I give him registration without taking any deposit, and if he does any wrong thing, right? So how will I recover from it? That's the reason I tell that a person who is requiring a registration either as a casual taxable person or as a non-resident taxable person, they will have to abide with by the saying whatever is the calculation on that you have to pay the taxes in advance. अगर आप advance में pay करोगे तभी आपको registration मिलेगा. So you have to make the payment of the deposit in advance of the estimated tax liability. Then your application cannot be like just in time. कि मुझे मैंने आज अप्लाई कर दिया कल आना है नहीं. You have to apply at least 5 days before the commencement of the business. Okay, so at least 5 days before the commencement of business you should register and keep it. Here with this difference between CTP and NRTP, is it mandatory field that while applying advance deposit? Yes, it's a mandatory field. And officer, once you apply and before he gives the registration, he will tell you that you have to make this deposit compulsorily. You have to give him the information, but how much to deposit, he will decide and tell you. So GST is applicable irrespective of notified goods. Only threshold limit will not apply in case of CTP. Correct. The rate of tax is same. ऐसा नहीं है कि CTP के लिए स्पेशल रेट मिलेगा. नो, there's no special rate. The special rate is only for a composition scheme person, not to a casual taxable person. A casual taxable person has to pay the normal GST rate, which is applicable to other also. If a toys businessman from Karnataka goes to Delhi for exhibition in Pragati Maindar, very good example. So a toys manufacturer or a person who's dealing in toys goes to an exhibition in Pragati Maidan. Can he take CTP registration in Delhi? Yes, definitely he has to take CTP registration in Delhi. Even if he has not crossed the threshold limit, no. If he has not crossed the threshold limit, then he is dealing in toys. And if these toys are known as notified handicraft goods, then if he's not crossed the limit, then he should not take the registration. He can always say that my limit is below the threshold, so I am not required to take the registration. Sir, at which date he can apply? He can apply before itself. So he has to apply. So there's one point, right? He should apply 5 days before commencement of the business. The last point exactly, Aditya, that's your question. That when should he apply for registration? He should apply it when he's planning itself, and he should tell the effective date of business, and at least 5 days before it, he should get it done. At least his registration should be ready 5 days in advance. In case of ITC left on CTP, GSTN on closure, he can transfer to principal GSTN. Good question. Any ITC left, can he transfer? No, he cannot actually transfer it. He cannot transfer it. Yes, Nadeem. सेल कर सकता है अपना रेगुलर जीएसटी को. यस, ही कैन डू दैट. कि वहां से यहाँ करना है तो ही कैन सेल इट, तो यहाँ पे क्रेडिट आ जाएगा इफ ही हैज गुड्स ना. ऐसा नहीं कि सिर्फ नाम के लिए इनवॉइस बना दिया. ही शुड एक्चुअली रेज इनवॉइस along with the document which is being sent. If handicraft not cross this threshold limit, then no registration. Correct. If handicraft goods you're selling and you're not crossing the threshold limit, then registration is not required. Validity month, I will tell you till what time the CTP will be valid for. Okay, clear on this points, on the common point as well, that no centralized registration is available. Threshold limit will not apply, but exception is for notified handicraft and craftsman goods. For this, threshold will apply. Then advance tax of that estimated tax liability has to be paid at least 5 days in advance. That is before commencement of business. उससे 5 दिन पहले आपको registration certificate मिलना चाहिए, or you have to take care of the ladies, everybody here. He collects, but NRTP and CTP cannot use ITC. What is the impact on this? No. CTP and NRTP cannot utilize the ITC. CTP can utilize the ITC. So can we sell a company with CTP registration before expiry of 90 days? You want to sell the company. See, CTP, it's not a separate entity. It's a form. It's a separate form. So you cannot sell the CTP registration as such, because the details will be given saying that who is the principal place of business, who is the main person who is in charge of it. So those details will be given. So you cannot sell a company with CTP registration. CTP can utilize ITC and NRTP cannot. Correct. Okay. Now, validity of registration. Somebody was really asking this, that what is the validity of this registration, sir? Sir, period, what is specified in the registration application. So what period I mentioned, that period they will give, or 90 days from the effective date of registration. मतलब आपका registration तो इतना temporary होगा कि it will say that it is valid for 90 days. That is when you say that no, you don't know till when you carry on business, or you mention 6 months. So officer is empowered to give you registration only for 90 days. 90 days होने पे you can apply for another application and extend it. So 90 days from the effective date of registration plus 90 days for making an application. So the validity of the registration can go up to 180 days. Clear? Okay. So both CTP and NRTP, it will be valid for 90 plus 90 days, which means the first registration which you will get, that will be for 90 days. And if you feel that you need some extension, so you make an application and your CTP registration will get extended for another 90 days. So जो भी registration है वो आपका 90 plus 90 180 days तक हो सकता है. So by default it is 90 days, but if you need for additional, you make an application, and if they say it is fine, then they may extend it to another 90 days. Amendment of registration, like now you have got the registration, either CTP, NRTP और फिर normal registration मिल गया है. अभी इसमें कुछ changes करना है. So can you do it? Yes, we can do it. How long is this GST is valid for CTP? As I had said, Kuldeep here, that it is valid for 90 days only. Unless you extend it, the validity is for 90 days. Yeah, there are some questions. CTP and NRTP will make taxable supply only after issuance. Yes, so they can still have exempted supply also. ऐसा नहीं कि once they have taken registration, they have to only to taxable supply. They can do taxable and exempted supply both. After completion of again, can we 180 days can we again apply? No. One maximum 90 plus extension करके 90 plus 90 180. After that, you cannot apply for extension. So what will happen? That registration will get cancelled, and if you want to have exhibition in another place, then you have to apply for new casual taxable registration again. Got it, Dia? So the advance amount for registration by CTP has to be kept nominal, right? Should be nominal, but the officer will decide saying that, okay, this is your turnover. He will see the record of your registration in another state. Have you been filing your returns properly? Are you been paying taxes correctly? Based on that, he will keep the advance amount, like a deposit amount, very minimal also. Every time he needs registration in some state, he will participate in where he participate in exhibition. Yes, wherever he needs that registration, then wherever that is being held, 5 days in before that, you have to apply for registration. So 90 plus 90 days, madam. Next, आपने registration ले लिया है. Now you want to make some corrections in that. There is a genuine change. How will you change it? So there are two fields in the registration. One is called as core field and one is called as non-core fields. Core fields मतलब जो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट फील्ड है उसको आप चेंज करना चाहते हो तो ऑफिसर का अप्रूवल चाहिए. So they are called as core fields. And non-core fields is which does not require the attention of the officer. It will get automatically updated. They are called as non-core fields. So what all changes can be made in core fields? In core fields, we can make change in name of the business. Say PAN is the same, but your name got changed. So that you can apply through core field amendment or addition and deletion of stakeholders. जो directors है company के case में, in case of partners in an LP, वो change हो गए हैं. So that is also a change in core field. Then principal place of business या additional place of business कुछ add करना है, then that change also will be happening through core field itself. And non-core fields है जो officer does not have to have any control on it. It will happen automatically. What are they? There are fields are all other fields are non-core fields such as email ID, mobile number. Because all of this what happens once you change it, you give your mobile number, you will get a OTP, you will validate it. वहाँ पे officer का कुछ लेना देना नहीं है. So that's why your approval or officer itself is not required for a non-core field. Okay. But anyways, similarly, it's to do with email ID also. You want to change email ID, phone number, simple things like this. It's a non-core field activity. You do not require a officer's intervention. Which document we need for amendment of registration? What is the amendment for? So if there's a change on business, then the new place of business registration certificate, etc., we have to take. So each change, what is the type of change based on the documents will be required. How many days it will take to grant RC for CTP and NRTP? So if they are satisfied, so there's no limit here. We can get the CTP and NRTP within 5 days or within 3 days also. Because it is a need of the hour that I'm doing an exhibition, you have to give it to me fast. That's the reason they will give you a registration at a fast manner. Now, how do you apply for amendment? We have seen the flow chart for normal registration. Now we'll see just have a look at this. How do you do the amendment for registration? Please have a look. Just give me one moment. This is the flow. Just go through this. Okay. So if there is a change in PAN, okay. If there is a change in PAN, can I go for amendment? Firstly, forget this slide. If there is an amendment in terms of change of PAN, can we do amendment of the registration? Kuldeep Nagar is saying yes. Adil Khan is saying no. Pooja is saying yes. Ashlesha is saying we have to go for new registration. Okay. PAN is mandatory for CTP. Yes, it is mandatory, Kuldeep. Tannu Vishwakarma is saying yes. They are saying yes. We can do the amendment. Okay. So I'll go back to the first slide which we started today. Now I'll just go through this. Then you tell me the answer. We said that the GST number is based on your PAN number, right? Now you tell me if there is an amendment in PAN, can I go for amendment or not? New registration GST number is composed of PAN number, right? So now you're saying that if your registration is PAN based and if your PAN is amended, right? How can you amend your PAN? You cannot do the amendment of PAN. Only if your business is taken over by somebody, then a new PAN will commit. Or you are closing down your business and new person is buying your business. So which means what? If there is a change in PAN, it means there's a change in business. When will the PAN change? You cannot just go to the PAN center and tell that I want to update my PAN. They will not do it, right? Yes, Sadia, do you have any questions?
Hi, good evening, sir.
Yes, good evening.
Sir, I'm not able to text you, sir.
Oh, mm, no such problems. Everybody is able to text. You will have to check from your end if there is any issues.
No, sir, I'm directly texting with technical support money.
No, there's some network problem at your end. I'm not able to listen to you. We go for a minute. Okay. Madam, you're not able to listen to you.
No, sir.
Yeah,
I
tell
am
me.
directly texting with technical support Manish.
Okay.
No, sir. No, sir. No, I can't. Okay, sir. Done. Thank you. No, sir. There is no option of no stuff.
Student, you are able to see the chat option or not? वो तो हमने भी देखा। Sadia D, right?
Yes, sir.
What is the issue?
I'm not able to text it, sir.
Text chat.
No, sir, not, no, sir.
Relogin again.
Okay, sir, thank you. Okay, sir.
Okay. So most of you are saying that yes, possible, and few are saying not possible. The correct answer is yes, it is not possible because the PAN, if it is changes, it means there is a change in the constitution of the business. Say I'm running a LLP, limited liability firm. Now I've converted into a private limited company. So the constitution has got changed from a LLP to a private limited company. I have to apply for new PAN. I cannot amend the existing PAN because PAN is based on business. If the business changes, then the PAN also will change. So if a LLP example is getting converted into a private limited company, they have to apply for new PAN with the new certificate of incorporation with a private limited company. The amendment of PAN is not possible if there is a change in constitution. अगर एलएलपी से आप प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कन्वर्ट करते हो तो फिर आपको नया पैन लेना पड़ेगा। सिमिलरली नया पैन आ गया तो आपका पुराना जीएसटी नंबर आपको कैंसिल करके नए पैन पे नया जीएसटी नंबर लेना पड़ेगा। That is what is mentioned here, that if there's a change in PAN, then you have to apply for fresh registration. You cannot go for amendment. This is very important, that if there's a change in PAN for a lot of corporate actions, right? Like a company is being taken over by another company, merger, demerger happens, a hive off happens. In all these situations, when the change a PAN, then you cannot apply for amendment. You have to take a new registration. Clear? Next. If there is a change in the name of the business or address of the business or any addition or deletion of partners, any of these things, this is a core field amendment. So you have to apply for amendment through a form called REG 14. जैसे REG 01 था for application of new registration. For amendment, it is REG 14. So you apply for amendment through REG 14. This will go to the GST officer. If he's happy, how will he be happy? If he's satisfied with the documents, that yes, the documents are all incorrect, then within 15 days, he will give you the amendment approval and your registration will get amended in terms of name of the business, address, addition of partners, change in partners, deletion of partners, those things. If the officer is satisfied, then he will give you the approval. If he is not satisfied, then he will ask you for clarifications. So आपको clarifications देना पड़ेगा through REG 03 by the applicant within 7 days. Because officer also does not have time, so he will give you less time. You will also have very fast, so you should respond to it with the supporting documents within 7 days. And how will you respond? REG 3 is the notice. Your response will be through REG 04. If the GST officer is not responding, then within 15 days of this response, if of your response, if he's not responding, then the change will get amended. Ya to fir he has to compulsorily approve it. And if the officer rejects it, okay, if the officer rejects it, then he has to give an order why he is not approving your amendment. He has to give a reason. ऐसा नहीं कि जीएसटी ऑफिसर है तो कुछ भी कर सकता है. He has to do it in accordance with the law. And if there's any correction he wants to do, or he's saying, no, your registration application for amendment is incorrect, you have not given proper documents, so he will pass an order in REG 05. So this is the procedure from the officer's end for amendment. Clear with this? Yes, Sadia. If seller sells through online, is it registration is required to him or no? So if he sells through online, also registration is required. Whether you sell online, you sell offline, registration is required if you cross the threshold limit. And compulsory registration says if you're doing any interstate purchase, interstate sale. So if you're doing online, you can get customers outside the state also. If you're getting any customer from outside the state, then compulsory registration is required. फॉर्म नंबर यस आपके मटेरियल में फॉर्म नंबर दिया गया है बट नॉट ज्यादा एम्फोसिस नहीं देना है इट विल नॉट बी मच कंपल्सरी yes correct Ashlisha same reg 345 is what is there under the application and the new registration that same form is used here that is 3 is for any clarification from the officer 4 is for our reply and 5 is the order correct good connection appreciate that you're able to correlate our topic on registration and with the amendment here ठीक है next is for cancellation. Now, cancellation can happen through three ways that you are cancelled by the taxpayer. You have applied for registration after a certain point of time. You are applying for cancellation. So, that is the first category where your registration is cancelled by yourself. So, cancellation by the taxpayer himself. It can happen in two situations. That is when your turnover is less than 20 lakhs. आपका registration है but you're seeing that your turnover, you're not crossing 20 lakhs. Why should I keep the registration? Because once you are registered and if your turnover falls down, also you have to continue paying it. Okay? ऐसा नहीं कि turnover एक बार कम हो गया and you don't have to pay and your registration will continue. Not possible. As long as your registration is continuing, you have to pay taxes even on minimum scale rupees. Say 50,000 rupees का sale हुआ है. On that also you have to pay GST because you are registered under the GST. But you're seeing there, okay, continuously mera sales come ho raha hai and it will not increase. There you can go for cancellation. So where your turnover is less than 20 lakhs, you can go for cancellation or in any other cases, saying that of death of the person or that we'll see in the third institution, yeah, whatever reasons you don't want to continue the registration, you can cancel the registration by yourself. Second is the officer can cancel it. कि भैया आपका registration है आप compliance नहीं कर रहे हो ठीक से you're not following the rules you're not following the acts properly then the registration can be cancelled by the officer himself. Third is cancellation by the legal heir, that is the death of the proprietor has happened or the death of any taxable person has happened, then cancellation can be applied by his legal heir because the dead person is no more existing. तो क्या होगा that legal heir you know right who is a legal heir descendant correct legal descendant or the kin is the legal heir लड़का या लड़की प्रोप्राइटर की anybody अगर लेडी भी है who is writing a will and saying that all my properties will go to this person so legal heir जो है can be either the son or the daughter or the wife anybody who is the actual legal heir as per the law if he's written a will then whose name is mentioned in the will if there is no will then what is the act saying based on that the legal heir will be established. Yes, legal representative who gets the right after that person's death, he is the legal heir. So legal heir जो है, he will apply for cancellation. Now, what is other cases other than this thing? Any reason for whatever reason he's cancelling, that are the other cases. They're not specified. They've just said that any other cases will fall as a cancellation by the taxpayer himself. Okay, cancellation by the registered person on his own or by the department can be for following reasons: business discontinuation, or he's transferred fully for any reason, including death of the proprietor, amalgamation, demerger, or otherwise dispose of the business, or in case of any change in constitution of business, or the taxable person who is no longer liable to be registered. Compulsory registration जो था, based on that he applied. अभी वो compulsory registration का काम हो गया है, and in the future he will not do any activity for which compulsory registration is required, right? Like he will not do any interstate sale, or example, he will not pay any tax under reverse charge basis. In that situation, he can apply for cancellation. Sir, if a person's death of taxpayer, how their partner run the business? Partners can run. So if the constitution is a proprietorship, then there is no partner. If it's a partnership firm, then if the person dies, they will appoint a new partner and the partnership firm will run. So in case of default in filing and department put GST under suo motu, and it's also in the way of cancellation by the department. Yes. So when you're not filing your returns, then also the officer can cancel it. So that is exactly the next slide, that when can the officer cancel your registration? When you do not conduct business from the declared place of business. आपने जो place of business बताया है registration के time, right? You have got the registration, but you're not carrying on from that place of business. The officer has come for inspection and he's found that you're not carrying on your business at that place, then he can cancel your registration. Second, when he issues invoices without supply of goods, मतलब जो भी काम है 2 नंबर का काम कर रहे हो आप, you're doing fraudulent activities. In that case, your registration will be cancelled. You have taken a registration from a place, but you're not running from that place. So it's an illegal thing. Second, you're issuing invoice without supplying of goods. You're only trading in invoices. Instead of trading in goods, you're trading in invoices. आपका business है trading of invoices. That itself is an illegal activity. Why will you do it? क्योंकि सामने वाले को credit मिलेगा. So you're just raising invoices. That also is in violation of the act कि आपको sale of goods करना चाहिए. Only then you should raise the invoice. लेकिन आप तो goods deal नहीं करते हो, सिर्फ invoice में deal करते हो. That is a illegal activity. Then also your registration get cancelled. Or you're violating the provision of section 171. एक provision था under GST laws called as anti-profiteering. मतलब जब before GST था आपका टैक्सेस ज्यादा था, फिर जीएसटी आने के बाद आपका टैक्सेस कम हो गया है, तो आपको प्रॉफिट जो है कस्टमर को पास करना चाहिए बेनिफिट, बट यू हैव नॉट डेल्ट विद इट, यू हैव डन द केप्ट द प्रॉफिट विद योरसेल्फ. सो when you violate the provisions of 171, then also the officer can cancel your registration. All of these are the instances when the officer finds out and he can cancel the registration. Or you're violating the provisions of rule 10A. That is, we have seen no कि आपका बैंक डिटेल्स आपने स्पेसिफाई नहीं किया तो फिर ऑटोमेटिक विद इन द स्पेसिफाइड टाइम लिमिट आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल हो सकता है. सो व्हेन यू आर वायलेटिंग द प्रोविजन ऑफ रूल 10A, then also your registration get cancelled. Then you're availing ITC in violations of section 16. 16 में conditions दिए गए हैं, तो you have to follow this. आपने condition तो follow नहीं किया लेकिन ITC ले लिया है, then also you should, officer can cancel your registration. Or you're furnishing details of your outward supplies. more than the tax payment. मतलब आपका GSTR1, we have seen no the returns कि GSTR1 is a return wherein you declare all your outward supply. You have declared outward supply तो 1 करोड़ का, but tax you have paid just 50 lakh rupees. टैक्स भी 1 करोड़ पे पे करना चाहिए, बट 3B में आपने सिर्फ 50 लाख डिक्लेयर किया है, 1 में आपने 1 करोड़ किया है, सामने वाले ने क्रेडिट भी ले लिया है. So in that situation, what you're doing fraudulent activities, that you're giving credit to your customer, but you're not paying tax to the government. So in such situations, when the officer finds out, he can cancel your registration. लेकिन सेल ऑफ इनवॉइस पता कैसे लगेगा? So there are a lot of strategies or techniques which the officers have. Through their analytics, they can find it out. Or you're violating the provisions of Rule 86B. What is Rule 86B saying? That whatever is your sales, in the ITC chapter, we have learned this, that when you're making a sale, right, more than 50 lakh rupees aapka agar sale hai, then you should utilize your electronic credit ledger. ECRL का मतलब है electronic credit ledger. You cannot utilize full credit. You can utilize 99% credit. 1% आपको बैंक से पे करना पड़ेगा. If you're violating that provision कि आप नहीं पूरा 100% credit से ही पे कर रहे हो, then also your registration can get cancelled. Then if you're violating provisions of Rule 23B, right? There's one rule which says that आपको क्या है, ITC ठीक से यूटिलाइज करना चाहिए, and this rule if you're violating, then also your registration get cancelled. Or a person paying tax under composition scheme failed to furnish return beyond 3 months from the due date. कि composition taxpayer जो है annually एक return file करना है. Now you have to file that return on time. कि ठीक है, you cannot able to file it on time, sometimes financial crunch हो सकता है, so they have given कि ठीक है, 1 महीना 2 महीना 3 महीना तक I will give you time. Within 3 months you should file your returns, but if you don't file, then your registration will get cancelled for a composition taxpayer. For a regular taxpayer, if you're not filing continuously for 6 months, if you're a monthly filer and you're not filing your returns continuously for 6 months, and if you're a quarterly filer, you're not filing your returns for 2 quarters, then also your registration can get cancelled. Then a voluntary registered person who has not commenced the business within 6 months from the date of registration. आपको registration दे दिया गया है, within 6 months also you have not started your business, तो फिर आप registration लेके क्या करो? Then registration was obtained by means of any fraud, willful misstatement or suppression. In such situation also your registration can get cancelled. So these are the instances. हमारे लिए cancellation तो can be any reason, but for officer there are specific reasons. If we do any of these things, then the officer can cancel our registration. सर अगर GSTR1 में सेल 1 करोड़ दिखाया है तो 1 करोड़ की टैक्स लायबिलिटी GSTR में आ जाएगी ना? नहीं, क्योंकि GSTR1 और GSTR3B में आ जाएगी, लेकिन GSTR3B में ना आप वैल्यूज एडिट कर सकते हो नवनीत. इट्स अ एडिटेबल फील्ड. ऐसा नहीं कि 1 जो है वही 3B में आएगा. आप 3B को कम भी कर सकते हो या ज्यादा भी कर सकते हो. इसीलिए अगर कम कर दिया है तो फिर कम टैक्स पे किया है, देन योर रजिस्ट्रेशन कैन गेट कैंसिल. हाउ मच टैक्स वी पे फॉर द गवर्नमेंट? GST, income tax, professional tax, these are all various taxes which we pay to the government. So in case of transfer of business, is it registration cancelled? Transfer of business, yes. अगर आप business transfer करते हो तो नया person जो है वो नया GST registration लेगा. So in case of transfer of business also, your registration has to be cancelled. ठीक है? So these are the instances for cancellation by the officer. Okay, now before cancellation, okay, when you are applying for cancellation, when an application is made for cancellation of registration, whether by the taxable person or the department, it takes time, right? क्योंकि cancellation instantly नहीं कर सकते हैं. The officer has to check something. अगर मैं cancellation के लिए apply करता हूँ, they have to approve it. Now approve करने के लिए उनको time चाहिए. They have to verify with various authorities या various departments internally under GST कि आपका कुछ audit pending है या any tax dues are there. तभी मैं अब कैंसिलेशन दूंगा, राइट? So various things they have to check, so it will take time. So that's the reason in the between, when I apply for cancellation, my registration will not get cancelled immediately. So during that period, the proper officer will suspend the registration. So cancellation के पहले जो procedure है उसे कहते हैं suspension. Because cancellation cannot happen just like that कि मैंने आज cancel कर दिया, apply कर दिया, officer ने cancel कर दिया. Not possible. When I apply for cancellation, they have to check if there is any tax liabilities due, etc. So that's the reason what they will do. They will not cancel it immediately. So in between क्या होगा? In between period जो है उसे कहते हैं suspension stage. Once you apply for cancellation, from that day onwards, your registration is suspended. Suspension means temporary lock. Very correct. Suspension का मतलब temporary lock हो गया है. If officer is satisfied, yes, आपका registration cancel होना चाहिए, then he will cancel it. अगर वो बोलता है नहीं आपका पुराना ड्यूज है, आपका कैंसिलेशन नहीं होगा, देन वो सस्पेंशन उठ के योर रजिस्ट्रेशन विल कम टू एक्टिव स्टेज. ठीक है? So when will be the period of suspension? Suspension period will be from the date of submission of your application or from where you ask for cancellation. मैं आज cancellation apply करूंगा, I can mention from the effective date कब से मुझे cancellation चाहिए. If I say I'm applying for cancellation today on the आज क्या डेट है 25th October, but I need the cancellation from 1st of October, I can say that. So whichever period I mention in the cancellation application, whichever is later, right? Now I can also do the other way around. मैं आज cancellation apply कर रहा हूँ from the 30th of October. Now whichever is later. So अगर मैंने पहले का डेट डाला है और आज अप्लाई कर रहा हूँ, so the suspension will be from today's date. Or today I apply for suspension or cancellation with a future date. So उस दिन से suspension शुरू होगा. From that date till the date of completion of cancellation. So when I apply till the date the cancellation happens, during that period my registration will be under suspension mode. Suspense नहीं है ये, it is suspension. मतलब सस्पेंस तो मतलब क्या होगा क्या नहीं होगा पता नहीं है, लेकिन सस्पेंशन जो है कंफर्म है कि हाँ आपने कैंसिलेशन के लिए अप्लाई किया है. वहां से लेके आपका कैंसिलेशन का डिसीजन तक जो आपका स्टेज है, आपका स्टेटस है, दैट विल बी सस्पेंशन स्टेटस. ओके, दैट इज व्हेन आई अप्लाई फॉर कैंसिलेशन. लेकिन डिपार्टमेंट अगर इनिशिएट करता है कि कैंसिलेशन का, then from the date when the officer decides कि आपका cancellation होना चाहिए, from that date till the date of completion of cancellation, the का duration is a suspension period, right? In my case, it can be any date, either before date or after date, whichever is later. But when it comes to department position, department can initiate the cancellation from the date when they decide till the date of actual completion of cancellation. सर जीएसटी कैंसिलेशन के बाद भी कोई रिटर्न फाइल करना पड़ता है? हाँ, जीएसटी कैंसिलेशन के बाद भी एक फाइनल रिटर्न बोलते हैं GSTR10, दैट रिटर्न फाइल करना पड़ता है, वो उसे कहते हैं फाइनल रिटर्न. हाउ मेनी डेज दे में सस्पेंडेड? एनी नंबर ऑफ डेज, वैसा कुछ लिमिट नहीं है. एनी नंबर ऑफ डेज टिल द इन्वेस्टिगेशन इज कंप्लीटेड, तब तक योर रजिस्ट्रेशन विल बी अंडर सस्पेंशन मोड. During suspension, why the suspension is required? Because during suspension, a registered person shall not make any taxable supply and shall not file any GST returns. ठीक है? तो सस्पेंशन पीरियड के टाइम आप सेल कुछ नहीं कर रहे हो, क्योंकि आपने कैंसिलेशन के लिए अप्लाई किया है और आप बिजनेस कर रहे हो, तो मतलब आप क्या दिमाग में सही नहीं हो, यू आर नॉट डिसाइडिंग. तो इसीलिए once you apply for cancellation, from that day onwards you are under suspension mode and you cannot make any taxable supply and you cannot file any GST return. ठीक है? Next is, in this way a taxable payable is freed from any GST compliance. So tax payable के लिए भी advantage है कि मैंने अप्लाई किया है तब से मुझे कुछ जीएसटी कंप्लायंस करने की जरूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. तो इसका मतलब क्या है? सस्पेंशन के पहले आपका पूरा जीएसटी रिटर्न्स वगैरह जो भी ड्यूज है उसको आप फाइल कर देंगे, बाद में ही सस्पेंशन के लिए या कैंसिलेशन के लिए अप्लाई करेंगे. Now, what is the expression shall not make any taxable supply? Because here we have said no, during this period, he shall not make any taxable supply. So what does this mean? That he shall not raise any tax invoice and he cannot charge tax on the supplies made. और टैक्स इनवॉइस भी रेज नहीं कर सकता है और कस्टमर्स से टैक्स भी कलेक्ट नहीं कर सकता है. इन केस एन ऑर्डर केम फॉर रिवर्सल ऑफ सस्पेंशन, मतलब कि आपका कैंसिलेशन खारिज हो गया, यू आर नॉट एलिजिबल फॉर कैंसिलेशन, सो देन द टैक्सेबल पेयर का क्या हो जाएगा, जीएसटी जो सस्पेंड मोड में वो एक्टिव मोड में हो जाएगा. सो वंस इट कम्स टू द एक्टिव मोड, यू हैव टू इश्यू रिवाइज टैक्स इनवॉइस एंड फाइल द फर्स्ट रिटर्न. जो भी पीरियड में आपका पुराना ड्यूज है, फ्रॉम दैट डेट यू हैव टू फाइल योर रिटर्न्स फॉर द सप्लाईज व्हाट इज मेड ड्यूरिंग द सस्पेंशन. आप टैक्स इनवॉइस तो लेस कर सकते हो, लेकिन आपने कुछ सप्लाई कर दिया है, so for all that duration you have to file the returns. Now suspension is amended little bit, wherein it says that proper officer can suspend the registration without affording a reasonable opportunity. कि कोई फर्जी काम कर रहा है, so there in such cases the officer can, without giving you opportunity, he can put your registration under suspend mode. ठीक है. Where a comparison of the returns furnished, जैसे GSTR1 and furnishing the details of inward supplies with your GSTR1 of the supplier, आपका 2B में क्रेडिट कम है, आपने क्रेडिट ज्यादा ले लिया है, या फिर आपका सेल 1 में ज्यादा है और 3B में आपने कम दिखाया है, इन दैट केसेस your registration can be suspended, or your registration can also be suspended where shall not be granted refund. ड्यूरिंग द पीरियड ऑफ सस्पेंशन आपको कोई रिफंड अप्लाई किया पुराना और ऑफिसर ने ग्रांट कर दिया है, वो भी आपको नहीं मिलेगा, बिकॉज सस्पेंडेड मोड में इतना है कि आपको बेनिफिट कुछ नहीं मिलेगा. सो एनी रिफंड विच इज ग्रांटेड ऑल्सो विल नॉट बी ग्रांटेड टू यू. देन सस्पेंशन ऑफ रजिस्ट्रेशन शैल बी डीम्ड टू बी रिवोक अपॉन कंप्लीशन. कैंसिलेशन इधर आपका हो गया है, देन सस्पेंड से हटके यू आर अंडर कैंसिलेशन मोड, राइट? From which date? Effective from the date on which suspension has been made effect. So suspension मेरे अप्लाई किया 1 अक्टूबर को, कैंसिलेशन मिला मुझे फाइनली 30 दिसंबर को. So the date of cancellation will not be 30 December. The date of cancellation will be from the October itself, because when I have applied for registration, officer has taken a time. तो इसका मतलब नहीं है कि जब वो अप्रूव करेगा तब से मुझे registration valid cancellation होगा. It will be cancelled from the effective date, that is when I had applied for the cancellation. ठीक है. Can we do GSTR 7? Anything, nothing, no returns can be filed. No returns can be filed. Now let's get into the procedural aspects of registration. सिंपल है, इलेक्ट्रॉनिकली सबमिट द एप्लीकेशन विद इन 30 days. देन आपका जो भी स्टॉक है उसके ऊपर आपने जो जीएसटी क्रेडिट लिया उसको रिवर्स करना पड़ेगा. सो यू हैव टू फर्निश द डिटेल्स ऑफ द स्टॉक, व्हाट इज द इनपुट्स हेल्ड इन स्टॉक, सेमी फिनिश्ड गुड्स एंड कैपिटल गुड्स. देन बेस्ड ऑन दैट द प्रॉपर ऑफिसर विल पास एन ऑर्डर विद इन 30 days, राइट? सो मोटो कैंसिलेशन जब है, ऑफिसर विल इश्यू अ शो कॉज नोटिस कि मैं आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल कर रहा हूं और इमीडिएटली सस्पेंड कर देगा. देन रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को रिप्लाई करना चाहिए, नहीं नहीं भाई साहब आप क्यों रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल कर रहे हो, मैंने रिटर्न फाइल नहीं किया, आई विल फाइल इट ऑफ, और वॉट एवर रीजन द ऑफिसर सेज कि इस वजह से मैं कैंसिल कर रहा हूँ. मेन शो कॉज नोटिस का ऑब्जेक्टिव ही होता है कि उसमें ऑफिसर को लिखना पड़ेगा कि फॉर व्हाट रीजन ही इज कैंसिलिंग योर रजिस्ट्रेशन. So if he is mentioning the reason, you have to respond to it with the reasons within 7 days. If the reply is satisfactory, the officer will drop it. Okay, bhai, आपका reason correct है, मैं registration आपका cancel नहीं करूंगा, I'm dropping it off. Or he will say, नहीं, your reason is invalid, I will go for cancellation. He will cancel it. Okay, the effective date of cancellation will be from a date which is determined by the officer itself. ठीक है? So this is the procedure for cancellation. Now, during cancellation, should we pay any amount? Yes, we have to pay some amount. Not amount to the officer. I'm not saying 2 number ka paisa. I'm saying that during cancellation, we have to pay some amount. What is this amount, you tell me? Based on this slide itself, you can get your answer. Correct, Navneet. Yes, your answer is right. Others? फाइन कैंसिलेशन किया है तो पाप नहीं किया है भाई, फाइन नहीं पे करना पड़ेगा. नो. बेस्ड ऑन इन्वेंट्री. व्हाट? आउटपुट टैक्स लायबिलिटी. क्यों, आप कुछ सेल कर रहे हो क्या कैंसिलेशन के टाइम? करेक्ट अश्लीषा. Proper officer will decide on what basis. Hypothetically, for you he will tell, okay, pay 50,000 please. For me he'll tell 1 crore. What will be the basis? Correct, Tanu. Others, come on, guess. My question is, at the time of cancellation we have to pay some amount. Now what is this amount for? Yes, correct answers. 50,000 rupees. अरे भाई, क्या basis है? Electronic ledger balance. No, Prerna. Sangeetwani, now you're right. Yes. Re-registration or activation of account. No. मैं तो कैंसिलेशन जाऊंगा. तो फिर जीएसटी लायबिलिटी अमाउंट. उमा वर्मा जी, क्या लायबिलिटी है? मैंने तो कुछ सेल ही नहीं किया, मैंने कैंसिलेशन कर रहा हूं. फीस टू पीओ. नो. स्टॉक ऑफ द गुड्स. राइट. Cancellation charges. No. So if you see this slide, I have mentioned the second point. You have to furnish details of inputs held in stocks and finished goods. ये क्यों देते हैं? Just for name sake? नहीं. क्योंकि ये जो भी स्टॉक दोगे आप, आपके पास कुछ स्टॉक है, तो फिर उसके ऊपर क्या किया? आपके पास स्टॉक है मतलब आप उसने बेचा नहीं. अगर बेचा होता तो स्टॉक ही नहीं होता. अगर स्टॉक है इसका मतलब आपने इनपुट टैक्स तो लिया है लेकिन इन स्टॉक को बेचा नहीं है. सो वॉट एवर इज द इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट ऑन दीज स्टॉक, दैट यू हैव टू रिवर्स इट. सो इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट जो रिवर्स करेंगे, राइट, ऑन दी स्टॉक, सेमी फिनिश गुड्स एंड फिनिश गुड्स, उसे क्या करेंगे हम? कैंसलेशन के टाइम पे आईटीसी रिवर्स करेंगे. सो दैट इज द अमाउंट व्हाट आई वाज आस्किंग यू, दैट व्हाट एवर इज द आईटीसी on the stock value, that has to be reversed, right? Input tax on purchases held on stock. Correct, Mr. Linga. ठीक है. फॉर्म नंबर जो इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर्म्स है वो तो लर्न करना पड़ेगा, जैसे जीएसटीआर 3B, जीएसटीआर 1, राइट, वैसा आपको लर्न करना पड़ेगा. So what if GST is cancelled by the officer but proprietor wants to open the GST again? Right. So he can apply for new registration. The officer will see if the previous registration, why it was cancelled. If he feels that based on that reasons he can grant it, he will grant it. Okay. So when you apply for cancellation, you are giving these details. The reason for these details, providing these details is कि आपके पास जो भी ITC on these, you have to reverse it. Now, what is this amount payable? Right. ITC in respect of the inputs which is calculated. This I will tell you in detail कि क्या amount cancellation पे करना पड़ेगा. ठीक है. So we'll take a break here for 10 minutes and we will start with this amount what is payable on the cancellation. So you're saying what is the amount payable on cancellation? As we had discussed, that whatever is the ITC has to be reversed. Now, what is the ITC which we have to reverse is ITC we have to calculate in respect of the inputs. That is, what is the ITC in respect of inputs calculated in accordance with Rule 44. This is not there for you. So, but the calculation mechanism you should know. Rule 44 is not there, but the formula you have to be aware of that what is the ITC on the inputs or ITC on inputs computed proportionately, saying that on 1 lakh worth of invoices, okay, you have only 50,000 worth of stock. So proportionate ITC credit or the ITC calculated in Rule 44, whichever is higher, okay, which is the Rule 44 itself is saying that what is the ITC on inputs, proportionate ITC or the output tax payable on such goods, whichever is higher, that has to be reversed. Matlab, your ITC you have taken 2 years back, right? So that ITC or today if you sell, what will be the value? Whichever is the higher value, that you have to reverse it. Sometimes old stock gets depleted. So the output tax payable will be very less, but the ITC will be more. In that case, this amount will be higher. So the ITC availed or the output tax payable, whichever is higher, you will compare and then pay the GST on it. Clear here? This is on normal input, that is on stock. On services, nothing will be there because services are not there in stock. So what we will pay GST at the time of cancellation, either on inputs or capital goods. So on inputs, we know ITC availed or output tax payable, whichever is higher. On capital goods, same that what we had considered before also. ITC in respect of capital goods on plant and machinery calculated in accordance with Rule 44. What is this Rule 44? ITC involved in the remaining useful life. जो आपने use कर दिया है, that is fine. On the remaining useful life, which is calculated again that the useful life for any asset is a 5 years period. Any asset under GST, right? In ITC chapter also we had discussed that the useful life of an asset is considered as 5 years. So how many hour life you have used, whatever number of period you have used it, वो तो चला गया है. Balance जो period है, that you will calculate, or the tax on the sale value of such asset, whichever is higher, you will reverse it. So what do we understand from this? That there is amount payable on cancellation. Okay. Amount payable on cancellation can be on inputs or on capital goods. On inputs, you will calculate the ITC which is availed on that assets or on that stock or the output tax payable, whichever is higher. And on capital goods, whatever is the ITC available on your capital goods or the ITC on your sale value, whichever is higher. Okay. Next is revocation of cancellation. Now your registration is cancelled, right? Not cancelled yet, suspended or cancelled itself. Registration is cancelled, you can revoke it, which means your registration is cancelled. Now you want to survive it or you want to bring it to life. That is called as revocation. The act of revoking or getting back the cancellation to an active stage is called as revocation of cancellation. Now, revocation of cancellation means you can apply or make a request saying that my registration is valid, sir, please don't cancel. That is called as revocation of cancellation. Okay, before that, there are some questions which are posted on the chat box. Diya Jain's question is, sir, what if we transfer our stock as sale? So when you transfer stock as sale, then it's not a transfer, it's a sale. Okay, so when you transfer your stock as a sale, then it's a sale, then you will pass on the GST. Okay, you will pass on the GST. Just one moment. Okay. Now your registration is cancelled. Now you want to revoke it, you can do it. Cancellation ke baad bhi you can give a life. So that's why they call it second life, right? So in GST also you have a second life, saying that okay, officer has come and he's cancelled your registration. Now you get a second chance through this mechanism called as revocation of cancellation. You can apply for revocation of cancellation within 90 days from the date of service of order of cancellation. आपको cancellation order आ गया है, उसके 90 days के अंदर you can apply for cancellation. Okay. Officers, some people were not happy, they went and recommended कि नहीं हमको और time चाहिए. So office, the GST authority say if you delay, you can apply for revocation also after plus 90 days. So 90 plus 90, 180 days, not later than 190 days, provided you get approval from the additional commissioner, joint commissioner or commissioner. यहाँ पे for 90 days you don't have to go to higher authorities, you can just go to the normal authorities called as assistant commissioner or deputy commissioner. But if you have delayed this 90 days, you're saying that okay 6 महीने हो गए, now I still want to revive it, you can go to the additional commissioner, joint commissioner or the commissioner directly. They are the higher ranks of the GST authorities. If they approve saying that okay we will give you a second life, you can, your cancellation can be revoked, then you can apply to them within 180 days. Normal officer, 90 days. Higher officers, 90 plus 90 days. Who are these officers, higher officers? Additional commissioner, joint commissioner, or the commissioner itself. Okay. And if the proper officer is satisfied, he may revoke the cancellation order within 30 days of receipt of application. Now, once you apply for revocation, the officer is not bound to कि नहीं आपको revoke करना ही है. He will also again take 30 days time. He will take 30 days time, right? Is this offline process? No, this is online process itself. But you have to apply for the thing online. But to give clarity to the officer, you have to meet him officer. You have to meet him offline, definitely. So procedure is online, but to make them understand, you will have to meet them offline itself. Okay. Once you apply for revocation, if the officer is satisfied within 30 days, he will revert it. And if he is satisfied, he will revoke your cancellation. If he is not satisfied, then he will reject the revocation application by issuing a show cause notice. So what is this show cause notice? Show cause notice, you're saying that any adverse action, any wrong action which is taken against you should be through a procedure in the law, and the procedure in the law is called show cause notice. If he is not satisfied, then he will tell what are the reasons he is not satisfied, and he will give you a show cause notice. This is an opportunity given to you saying that your registration will be cancelled. Now give me a reason why I should not cancel. That is a show cause notice. The officer will have to dispose of the application within 30 days of receipt of clarification. So he will take 30 days, he will give you a notice and you will reply to it. After you reply, he will take another 30 days to dispose of the application saying that yes, आपका cancellation में revoke कर देता हूं कि नहीं आपका cancellation continue होगा. Okay. When registration was cancelled for failure to furnish returns. Now, at the time of revocation, if your registration was cancelled for non-furnishing of returns, then what will happen? So, but if officer revokes the cancellation and didn't ask to visit office, then no need to visit. Yeah, no need to visit. Definitely, if he's doing it, but you're uncertain, no? You do not know if the officer will cancel your application or he will approve the application. That's the reason I was saying that visit will be required. Otherwise, you will get a show cause notice, and the show cause notice also you can reply it. Definitely, it is not recommended that you visit the officer, but as a practical suggestion, I was saying that visit the officer so that they are understanding and they will understand your situation better. So, show cause is SCN full form. S stands for show, C stands for cause, N stands for notice. SCN means show cause notice. Right? Now, for the revocation of cancellation, if the officer has cancelled just for multiple reasons, if one of the reason is your registration was cancelled for furnishing the returns, then You have to file or do the returns which were not filed, then you can go for revocation. That is, returns for which period to be filed before applying for revocation of cancellation. Before applying for revocation of cancellation, your login will still be active, right? तो आपका cancellation इस वजह से हुआ कि आपने returns file नहीं किया है. तो if you are daringly going for revocation without completing this returns, then it will definitely get rejected. So when you're going for revocation for the reason that your returns were not filed, from the date when which returns are not furnished till the order of cancellation, right? And your effective date of cancellation is this. Then you have to file the returns for this period within 30 days of the order of revocation of cancellation. ठीक है. अगर आपको order of revocation of cancel आ गया है, then within 30 days, okay, for this period you have to go for filing of all your return. अगर आपका effective date यहाँ पे है, that is, your date of order and your effective date is same, then from that date till the order of revocation you have to file your returns. लेकिन अगर आपका effective date है from the date of when the returns were not filed, from that date till the date of order of revocation you have to file it. So what I'm trying to say is your cancellation can be from the date of this order or from the back date itself. If the cancellation is from a back date, from the date when you have not filed the returns, so tab se leke when you're getting a revocation order, within 30 days of the order, you have to file your returns. But if your effective date was not this, तो इसके लिए आपको returns file करने की जरूरत नहीं है, क्योंकि order of cancellation जो है, effective date of order of cancellation, तब से लेके effect of order of revocation, तब तक के duration का आपको returns file करना पड़ेगा. Clear with this? Very nice. Okay. So effectively, the impact of this is from the effective date of cancellation till the date of order of revocation, you have to file your returns. Now, we said revocation. Some people cannot apply for revocation, which means ineligible application for revocation. Few people cannot apply for revocation. Who are they? When your registration was cancelled voluntarily, when you yourself has applied for cancellation and the officer has cancelled it, based on your application. Now you cannot go and tell, no, my cancellation was wrong. So revocation of cancellation can be done only when the officer has cancelled it. If the officer has cancelled your registration, then you can go for revocation. When you have applied for cancellation, then you cannot go for revocation, because your own action you're reversing, not possible. If officer has done something, then you can go for revocation. Okay. Secondly, UIN holders cannot go. A GST practitioner cannot file for revocation. The taxpayer himself has to apply for revocation. When registration is cancelled on the request of legal heir, now legal heir has said that he's death. Now you cannot go and tell revokes, no, he's not death, because death ke upar you will given the death certificate. That's why your registration has been cancelled. So that's why on case of death, you cannot go for reverse case, you cannot go for revocation. And when the cancellation under SGST, cancellation by the state officer, SGST means State Goods and Service Tax Officer, once he is cancelled, then it will be deemed that the registration is of all the registration is cancelled. जैसे हम one registration we take for all the acts, CGST, SGST and IGST. Similarly, when the cancellation is done by the SGST officer, it will be deemed that CGST, IGST says everything is cancelled. Not clear on revocation of cancellation. What is not clear, Ms. Dia? So what is revocation? My registration is cancelled. Now, after I got a cancellation, I saw that I have to continue the business. अगर मेरा registration cancel हो गया तो I cannot run the business. So I will apply to the officer saying that you have cancelled my registration. Kindly relook into it. I will comply with whatever non-compliance I had done. That application is called revocation of cancellation. Clear? No more doubts? Cancellation by department. So return filing point on return filing point. Okay. The return filing point is very simple. Let me re-explain that to you. On the return filing point, so I've applied for cancellation. Officer has cancelled my registration for non-filing of returns. So I made a request for revocation and he's accepted. Okay. Your revocation is active, which means your cancellation, your revocation is accepted and your registration is now active, with the condition that within 30 days you have to file all your pending returns. Okay, now you have agreed. Now, for what period you will file your returns? So, the order of cancellation, as I said, when the officer cancels it, he can give a date prior to the date of cancellation or on the date of cancellation. So, if he's cancelled it on the date of cancellation itself, so from that period till the date of order of the revocation, for this duration, you will file your returns. Second situation can be that your order of cancellation is this, but your effective date is prior to that. He will tell, I'm cancelling it today from 1st January 2025. So if he's cancelling today from 1st January 2025, then the 1st January 2025 से लेके date of order of cancellation till October तक जो भी है, you have to file the returns within 30 days. That is the meaning of this. Clear? Very good, Navneet. Thank you so much. GST practitioner meaning there are some people who are affiliated as GST practitioner, right? जो जिसी के returns भी file कर सकते हैं, जैसे chartered accountant, company secretary, cost and works accountant, and other people who are writing an exam, they will be called as GST practitioner. तो these GST practitioners क्या है? किसी individual के login पे they can associate a GST practitioner. This GST practitioner can do certain tasks or like filing the returns वगैरह. He is a GST practitioner, but that GST practitioner also cannot apply for revocation. The taxpayer himself should apply for revocation. On death, ITC on input need to be reversed by heirs. Yes, they will have to reverse it. ITC आपको carry forward नहीं कर सकते. Can we cancel government firm of GST like tax deductors? Yes, tax deductors, if the business or the government itself is closing down that unit, then they can apply for cancellation. Okay. Excellent. So that ends the chapter on cancellation. So now, if you don't have any more doubts, let's take up the doubts. Ineligible revocation not in study material. Okay. So might be a syllabus से हटा दिया गया है. Let me just check. Yeah, you're right. Ineligible is removed from your syllabus. If cancelled on my account of reason one, that is not conducting business from other place, same can be corrected. Right, that can be corrected. You can say that that place of business I was not operating, I was operating from home. Now I will change my address. On that reason, you can apply for revocation. Cancellation GST shows in GST portal. Yes, the status when you type the GST number Nagaraja, it will show that the status is cancelled. And your GST will be active because agar old liability something has to be paid, right? That's the reason your portal access will be active. Anti-profiteering is that when you were under old law, your taxes were high, excise service tax were high. Under GST, your taxes is low, right? So when your tax burden is low, you have to pass on the benefit to your customer. You have to reduce your price. If you do not reduce, that is called as anti-profiteering. मतलब आप गवर्नमेंट का टैक्स का बेनिफिट कस्टमर्स को नहीं दे रहे हो, you are profiting from the taxes. That is called as anti-profiteering. Cancellation by department, still we can take new GST number. Yes, we can take it. But will you get it is doubtful, because when the officer themselves has cancelled and you apply, they will tell, no, last time we had cancelled because you are not following the law, you are a fraudulent person. Right? In that case, they may not approve it. But if you say, no, last time I did not have a proper person, I did not have funds, now I've collected the funds properly, I will do the complaint properly, then they may give the new registration. Okay, so what we'll do is now we'll take up some questions and we will see how do we answer them. Rightful benefits of customers are held by taxable person. Yes, that is anti-profiteering. Very well understood, Kuldeep. Yeah, we'll start with some MCQs. We have five MCQs. Okay, then go with the descriptive answers. First MCQ. Once cancelled GST, again registration open, same GST number? No, you will not get the same GST number. You will get a different GST number. Harshra is saying temporary for 90 days. Come on, MCQ guys, your favorite. Correct Navneet, correct Nagaraja, correct Ashlesha. Kuldeep, for whom? What is for whom? Aditya is saying temporary for 90 days. Correct, Dia. Who is taxable person? They have not said anything. The question is, what is the validity of registration granted under GST? Oh, okay, lot of answers. CTP के लिए 90 days for normal correct. So अगर कुछ भी नहीं दिया गया है, which means what? It is normal registration. अगर special category का दिया होता, then it's a special category. Otherwise, it is normal category. So the answer is it is a permanent registration. The registration granted under GST does not have any validity period. For CTP and NRTP, it is for 90 days. For others, it's a permanent registration. Great. Question number two. Be careful. This is a tricky question. You know, slippery parts. So this is a slippery path here. You feel your answer is correct, but you have to read all the options and rethink it. Because Nagaraj is saying option one. Without any approvals. No. कंफ्यूजन है हाँ भैया. Okay. So most of you are agreeing that it should be approval, correct? लेकिन approval from whom? 90 days के लिए approval from the proper officer is sufficient. बट अगर कमिश्नर के पास जाना है तो 180 डेज के लिए जाएंगे ना. सो नॉर्मल इट इज अप 90 days is normal duration. So for 90 days duration, it needs approval by the proper officer. That's all. ठीक है. Question number 3. 90 plus 180. No, 90 plus 90, then commissioner. Okay. What basic principles should an officer follow during suspension of registration? The proper officer can suspend without affording the opportunity, or the proper officer has to give 7 days time for registered person to respond. Proper officer has to follow the principle of natural justice and give the registered person an opportunity of being heard. The proper officer has to give 30 days time for registered person to respond and can then suspend. So the correct answer is the proper officer can suspend. This is not on cancellation. Okay. Few people are saying through 2, 3, and 4 options. It is not that. The answer is this. This is suspension. We have read in our slide, right? Suspension can happen without affording a proper opportunity. It is suspension. Don't think suspension means cancellation, right? Nobody, I think, has given a correct answer. Oh, Diya Jain has given the correct answer. Very nice. Very, very just one answer. Okay, so be careful. Okay, question number 4. Yes, sir. So registration required because of interstate taxable transaction within 30 days. PQR of Bangalore has affected intrastate supplies of taxable goods amounting to 28 lakhs. It is intrastate. Somebody is reading interstate. It is intrastates. On 1st January, it has affected interstate supply of 4 lakh rupees. When is it required to obtain registration? Registration is not required since turnover is below 40 lakhs. Within 28th February 28, registration required since the turnover exceeded 20 lakhs. So apply within 30 days, that is before 30th January 2028 or within 3rd March 2018. So the correct answer is within 3rd March 2018. Thirty days from sorry, this is 31st January. Yes, the answer question is not 1st January, sorry, it is 31st January. If it is 31st January, that is when you will be able to calculate the number of 30 days from 31st January. Otherwise, what answers you gave were right, but it can't be 28th February. 4th में 4 कैसे होगा? बिकॉज 31st जनवरी उससे 30 डेज, सो आप 30 डेज कैलकुलेट करोगे तो कब आएगा? 31st को छोड़ दीजिए, 28 days, 29th and 30. So it will be effectively 3rd of March. So 30 days करना है, not month. It says 30 days. फर्स्ट जनवरी हम मैंने चेंज कर दिया, मैंने 31st जनवरी लिखा, बस 1st जनवरी होता तो आप आराम से बोल दोगे 30th जनवरी, 30th 1st जनवरी होगा ना, 30th जनवरी, सिंपल. अब सीए स्टूडेंट्स आपको सिंपल क्वेश्चंस थोड़े देंगे. करेक्ट, बिकॉज ऑफ इंटरस्टेट टैक्सेबल ट्रांजैक्शन, करेक्ट, उसकी वजह से वी हैव टू अप्लाई फ्रॉम द डेट व्हेन यू मेक अ टैक्सेबल ट्रांजैक्शन, बट 30 डेज वहां से. Answer is within 3rd March 2018. Correct. Correct, Shraddha. Clear 30 days. Yes, clear 30 days रहनी चाहिए. You're right. Correct. We will select nearby date. Perfect. Sure, Gurdayal, let me know which question you're not able to understand. ठीक है. Last MCQ. On which of the following grounds can GST registration not be cancelled? Be aware of the question. Question number 4. Question number 3, 4 was just for one student. PQR has affected intrastate supply, Guru Pradeep, that he have made intrastate supplies of 28 lakhs. So up to 40 lakhs, if they're doing intrastate, no GST required. Now, when they've affected interstate, we will calculate the aggregate turnover. Aggregate turnover, we will not see, because once you do interstate transactions, any value, the threshold will not apply. So once you cross this on 31st, if you make interstate supply, you have to register. Correct? So on 31st, you have made an interstate supply. So it is, you have to register. When you should register? Within 30 days. So from 31st January, if you say 30 days, from you have February. February has 28 days, right? So 28, then first and second. So by third, you have to apply for registration. That is 3rd of March. Okay, now clear? On which of the following grounds can GST registration not be cancelled? Confusion. Hey, right. लोगों को थोड़ा समझ में आ गया है. That's nice. Yes, Safia Hasmi. The correct answer is 2. That when your outward supply in 3B is more than 1, आपने टैक्स ज्यादा पे किया है, तो उसके लिए आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल नहीं होगा. बट 1 केस में 1 अगर ज्यादा है और 3B कम है, तो उसका मतलब आपने टैक्सेस कम पे किया, तब आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल हो सकता है. और थर्ड केस में भी रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल हो सकता है जब आपने इनपुट टैक्स क्रेडिट लिया है, right, is less than what is claimed in 3B, and input tax credit in 2A is less than what is claimed in 3B, right? In that cases, your registration will not be cancelled. सिर्फ इस केस में, in this case your registration can get cancelled. In this case only your registration will not be cancelled. Fourth, why not? Because your input tax credit in 2A is less than what is claimed in 3B. Okay, your 2A is less, you have claimed in 3B. So in this ground, your GST will be cancelled ना, क्योंकि 2A में कम है लेकिन आपने क्लेम ज्यादा किया है, तो आपका रजिस्ट्रेशन कैंसिल होगा. क्वेश्चन इज उल्टा क्वेश्चन है. तारक मेहता का उल्टा चश्मा जैसे हमारा जीएसटी का एमसीक्यू का उल्टा क्वेश्चन. Here 2A is auto generated, correct? Perfect. So what I'll do is I'll upload the other questions. Because of paucity of time, we could only cover the MCQs. If there is any questions, we can take it up. There's we are good for the day. Good that registration, we were able to complete the chapter and take up the MCQs and clarify a lot of notes. Sure, Ashlisha. Whatever questions maximum possible, I will share it. Sure, Ashlisha, thank you. Hope I could take some rest. Yesterday was a little tiring. That's why there were little breaks. Apologies for it. But thanks for acknowledging that. Even in spite of that, I could take the classes. Thanks for just making that aware to me. For ITC, GSTR 2B is generated. Yes. For ITC, the GSTR 2B report is generated. So it can be 2B or it can be 2A. Both the reports are generated. Thank you, Navneet. Thank you so much. Notes not available. Earlier we solved question not available. Okay. I will request the Board of Studies to upload till today whatever it is there. Yeah, tricky questions. Very nice. Thank you. Thanks for patience is just come over a period of time. Thank you. You're right, Nagraj. 2A is not only auto-generated, not a return file. It is a return file by the supplier. So once the supplier files it, only then it gets auto-generated. Not that it can just generate. Somebody has to take some action, right? So supplier has provide the details. That's why it is auto getting generated via the receiver. Okay, so that is a reason for cancellation of registration. Yes, Navneet, today's session is done. I'm just answering few questions which students may have. Thank you, Mustafa. Thank you, sir, your great words. Thanks for recommending other students to this session. Thank you so much. Thank you, Adil. Once GST registration cancelled, GST portal becomes active or no? No. GST portal will not become inactive. It will still be active because if some taxes you have to pay, that's why they will still keep it active. You didn't understand the last MCQ? Very good. See, last MCQ is on which of the following grounds can GST registration not be cancelled? This is important. Not be cancelled. It's not that GST registration can be cancelled. So you have to remove off the cases where GST will be cancelled and which is left out that is not to be cancelled. Right? So when your outward supply is in 1, GSTR 1 is more than 3B, your registration will be cancelled. Correct? Your registration will be cancelled. So that's not the answer. Let's go to third and then come to the second. Third one, when your input tax credit in 1 furnished by the supplier is less than the claimed in 3B. Matlab, supplier will generate 1, you will get it as 2B or 2A. That value is less than what you have claimed in 3B. So you're claiming more credit, then also your registration will be cancelled. In the fourth situation, your 2A, same like 1. Instead of saying GSTR 1, I've told 2A. Or it can be 2B because 2A and 2B will be same. So when your input credit in 2B is less than what you have claimed in 3B, then also your registration get cancelled. But in this case, your outward supply in 3B is more than 1. In that case, will your registration be cancelled? No. So that is the answer then. Very insightful session, lot of tricky points, and we learned many topics. Thank you so much. Sure, I think we have crossed the time. All the questions have been answered. Oh, Subhash Shankar, yeah, you can, sorry, you can conclude now.
Okay, thank you so much, Deepak sir, for this wonderful session. And we had already received so many feedbacks of the students that the session was insightful and useful for all the students. The best thing is that most of the students were able to answer the questions which have been asked in the session. That simply means the session was technically good and the students actively participated in understanding all the concepts of the registration. As far as the topic of the registration is concerned, it is important for the examination purpose, but at the same time, the same topic is important in the practical life as well. When we talk about the chapter of the registration, it has many aspects like aggregate turnover, compulsory registration, the person who is not liable to for the registration, voluntary registration, cancellation of registration, and how we can file the application for the revocation of the cancellation of the registration, and other important topics as well, as we have learned in the last three sessions, in these three sessions of the chapter of the registration. So there are some important points when we talk about the chapter of the registration. As far as the aggregate turnover is concerned, when we talk about the aggregate turnover, that is the sum of the taxable supplies, exempt supplies, export, and the interstate supplies. So many people have the confusion. Sometimes many people have the confusion that in aggregate turnover, the exempt supplies is not being added, but actually the exempt supplies is the part of the aggregate turnover, even though the tax is not payable on the same. And you need to also understand that even though the threshold limit is applicable for the states, for some states, but at the same time, we need to understand that aggregate turnover will be calculated on all India basis, right? So, and this is what the registration is required. So this is what the aggregate turnover is all about. When we talk about the compulsory registration, we have learned where even though the threshold limit does not exceed, but still the registration is required. When we talk about the person who is not liable for the registration, even though the interstate supplies are there and many other cases are there where the people are actually not required for the registration, like agriculturist or any person who make the reverse making the supply related to the reverse charge mechanism, and multiple other aspects are there which have been taught by sir in this chapter, where the person is not liable for the registration. Threshold limit is different for the special category states, for some other states, and in general as well. So that is what the threshold limit is all about. When you now moving forward, how the voluntary registration can be done, and what should be the effective date of the registration. If you have submit the application within the 30 days of becoming the liable for the registration, effective date will be the date on which the person liable for the registration. If the application is submitted beyond the 30 days, so the effective date will be the date of the grant of the registration. Uske baad we have talked about the deemed registration. Then the entire process of the registration, we have learned that how we can apply for the registration application in form REG1 in the part 1 and the part 2 on the electronic portal of the GST. So moving forward, moving forward, there we talk about the chapter talks about the casual taxable person and the non-resident taxable person. So they are the people who does not have the fixed registration or the permanent establishment in a specific state, and sometimes they want the registration in that state, but for the limited time. So those people are called the taxable person, and they have to deposit the advanced estimated liability of the GST before taking the registration, right? And after that, the amendment of the registration and the cancellation of the registration. Hope you have learned this session. So you have learned a lot in this session, and the new study material has been already uploaded on the ICAI website. You can refer the updated study material on the website, and also the notes which have been referred in the class, the assignments which will be covered in the class will be duly uploaded on the BOS Knowledge Portal website. With these words, thank you so much for participating in this. Thank you so much for being there, and I wish you all the best. In the you will get to know the schedule for the upcoming classes as well. Till that time, thank you so much. Bye bye. Yes, any query? Sure. Ashlisha, Rahul, Rol. Surely we will upload this. We will upload the notes. Don't worry about it. We will upload the notes by tomorrow maximum or day after tomorrow. Okay. Thank you so much. I think we should. If anybody has query, so please do let me know. Otherwise, we will leave the session. We will leave the meeting. Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, students. Over. Over, sir. Over.